So I don't have a big Insta. I don't have a huge following on Facebook. I've got 100, I think, subscribers to my YouTube channel. Yet I'm standing here right now, and I've been able to do something that I couldn't really believe possible just a few years ago. And what I've achieved is something that each and every one of you in this room can achieve, but not as slow as I've done it. You can do it way, way faster than I've done it, because since I've started, and I didn't know what I was doing when I first got going, I had no idea. We got people who've come in and literally keep on raising the bar. We got Ad Gately, where is he? Where are you, mate? Hey. Yeah. Completely smashed it. I thought I was doing all right. Get him out of the stable, and he's all over the place. Then Amelia came on board and completely and utterly smashed any idea of what we thought was possible. And forget about you, then we got Lacey over there who's come on board and done it again. And I'm sure there's going to be more and more people, and I'm sure many of them are going to be people who are sitting here right now in this room, are taking CEO movement and what is possible to a whole nother level. It doesn't matter where you are on your journey. It doesn't matter if you've been in for a while or you've just got started. It doesn't matter what your results are right now. What matters is that you're here and that you are here to learn from these other people, to network and to work out what is best. I'm not here to tell you what's best. We've given you an opportunity, and it's up to you to work out what is best for you and how you can get going. So I didn't write a speech today. I was going to. I wanted to. And I've been thinking about it for the last, couple of weeks, and putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And I thought, this reminds me of when I was at school. And I'd always put it off and leave it to the last minute, and then at the last minute I'll say, fuck it, and just wing it instead. But I still don't know exactly what I want to tell you today. So I just want to tell you a little bit about my journey. So I, in my 20s, had what I can only describe as a pretty magical life. I didn't have any money. I wasn't from a gifted family or anything like that, but I made a lot of things happen. And all of these things gave me a wild and magical existence where a lot of crazy things happened and were literally opportunities thrown in front of me. And I embraced each and every opportunity that I got. And it took me all over the world. It took me to some wild places. And if you want to know more about it, if you weren't in Bangkok, I think I told a little bit too much in Bangkok. But it's all it's all on video, it's all been recorded, and it's on my YouTube channel. So if any of you are bored at any point and you want to have a little look, you can feel free to check that out. So I'm not going to talk about what happened in my 20s. But in my 20s, everything was magical. Everything worked. Didn't matter what I had or what I didn't have. Everything I needed was given to me. Just literally appeared in front of me. And that's how I thought life was. And I hit my 30s, and I was out in Asia, and all of a sudden I started to struggle. And rather than be cool and relaxed and chilled and in the flow like I was in my 20s, I was all of a sudden worrying about stuff. And yeah, I got married, and I had a family, and I had businesses, and I had things, genuine things to worry about, yeah? But worrying about those things stopped me from being in the flow. They stopped me, they prevented me from receiving all of this magical shit that came to me during my 20s. And I found myself genuinely struggling, and I was like, whoa, this is not how life used to be, yeah? And I needed to fix it, but I didn't know how, and because I was struggling and because it wasn't right, it was actually getting worse, and I was digging myself a hole. Now, in my early 20s, I was really big into law of attraction, a long time before it became popular, before people were sharing books like The Magic or whatever. And I lived my life that way. And I lived my life in a way that I knew what I wanted. I was happy with what I had. And I embraced every single opportunity, no matter how weird, bizarre, or dangerous even those opportunities were. I just took them. I'd do anything, yeah? And I couldn't do it anymore in my 30s. I didn't know what to do. So basically, I ended up, my last physical business, for those of you who don't know, I had a nightclub. And my nightclub was on a beach in Vietnam. And people used to come into this nightclub every day and they'd be like, wow, Nate, you're the man, you got a nightclub, you got this amazing place. And yeah, it was cool. And yeah, I could play whatever music I wanted, but it was hard work. It was really hard work. I was working 18 hours a day. I was working 7 days a week. And honestly, I had a family at the time. It wasn't the best occupation, really, when you've got a family. You're working all night till 8 o'clock in the morning. You're fixing all the problems. And again, I started to struggle. So the result was I lost that nightclub. The business crashed completely through some of my fault maybe, and a lot of things that I couldn't control. Doesn't matter. I lost the business. I lost every penny that I'd invested. I, at the same time, lost my family. Yeah, I split up with my wife. All of my investments that I'd made over the previous decade were all in my ex-wife's name. So I ended up pretty much penniless and hopeless too, and I didn't know what to do. And I had a daughter to look after, and I ended up selling my one and only possession, which was my motorbike. And I got a ticket back to the UK, somewhere that I hadn't lived in well over 20 years. And I came back here and I got myself a job, as most people might know, driving trucks. And I started driving small trucks because I didn't have a license for the big trucks. And very quickly I got the license for the big trucks and I started driving the big trucks. And it was really cool because over 3 months I grew very quickly and I got all my licenses and I started making pretty good money. And I'm driving these trucks. But very quickly, once the learning process was over, I'm like, shit, I'm trapped now. I'm working 15-hour days, 6 days a week. I'm sleeping on the side of the road every night in these trucks. I'm cooking a little meal for myself every night. I have no social life whatsoever, no friends whatsoever. I'm 100% alone all the time. And it was getting me down. I couldn't see my daughter, even though I was sending money back to her every month. She wasn't in my life. And I was at a point that I felt well and truly broken. And whilst I was at that point, nothing came to me. No magic happened. Yeah? All of these good things that I was used to receiving during my earlier years just didn't happen, and I was stuck. So after about a year of driving the truck, I made a conscious decision, and I decided that the only person that was going to change my life was me. And I started reading about law of attraction. I read a lot of books, not reading physically, it was all on audiobooks. I was making full use of the time that I had at the wheel. So I was reading a lot about Abraham Hicks. That was something that hugely, hugely important that we've heard about from Amelia. I mean, Laurie has seen and been to the shows and talked a lot about Abraham Hicks during Masterminds. I strongly recommend that every single person in here checks out. If you don't know who or what Abraham Hicks is, do a little Google search. Check out what they're doing on YouTube. Absolutely life-changing stuff. So I started to realize that I wasn't behaving in the same way that I was in my 20s. And I was stressed all the time, and I was unhappy, and I didn't have hope for the future. And I decided to make that change. So what did I do? I started to see my job in a different way. Rather than this burden that I had, this pain in the ass thing that I had to do every single day, I was grateful for the fact that I had a job, and I was grateful for the fact that I was getting money. And I was working mostly in Scotland, and I was able to look out of the windscreen and see this beautiful, beautiful Scottish landscape. And I could look in the rearview mirror and see 5 miles of traffic piled up behind me that they couldn't get past, but that wasn't really what I was staring at. I was looking at everything that happened in front of me, and I started to become happy. And my situation was the same. Nothing had changed, but I started to become happy. And I started to think about what I wanted. And what I wanted was to be back in Asia. What I wanted was to not be working 15 hours a day. I wanted to have enough money when I went back there. I didn't want to have a hard restaurant kind of, nightclub kind of business like I had before. I wanted to be close to my daughter again. But but I didn't really know how to do it. But as soon as I started to realize what I wanted, opportunities started to come my way. Now, the first thing, I saw a post on Facebook. Now, I didn't have any Facebook account until 4 years ago. Yeah, I didn't like social media. I didn't understand it. I didn't know why anybody would want to post any personal shit about themselves for other people to see online. It was completely weird to me. And I did have a Facebook account because I needed to run the fan page of my nightclub, but I'd never ever posted a picture of me online. I'd never used it. And all of a sudden, I'm browsing around on Facebook, and I see a guy who I knew from before, and he was posting an ad for an assistant for his online business. And he wanted somebody to help him out. And I didn't want to be his assistant. I didn't want to help him out, but I did want to know what he was doing. So I messaged him, and I tried to find out a little bit more. And he was working using Amazon. He was making really good money. And he's like, yeah, I can show you what I do. And I didn't really want to do Amazon. I've done similar businesses before. I worked in eBay a long time ago. I didn't want that kind of business where I had to buy a load of products in order to sell them. But instantly I knew that online was where I needed to be. So I pursued the whole online thing, and I started to look a little bit more carefully about what other people were doing online. And I came across loads of different offers, loads of different courses. I invested a hell of a lot of money into lots of different ideas, and none of them were really what I wanted to do, until I found a couple of guys who were using web funnels. They were using social media marketing, and they were using consultative sales techniques. And all of a sudden, this is something that I thought, wow, I can do this. So I started working with these guys, and I didn't have much in the way of mentorship. They didn't really know what they were doing that well. They were making some success, but I was kind of feeling it on my own. I was selling products that were a bit shit, to be honest, that I didn't really believe in, I didn't really understand, that weren't paying very well. But I thought I'd give it a go. Anyway, I had saved up a bit of money, and I started to invest quite heavily in focusing on the business that I was doing. And I went out to Vietnam. I went back there to spend a month on holiday with my daughter. And whilst I was there, I really pushed my business to a max. I threw several grand into advertising, and nothing happened. And I couldn't really understand it. My very first ad that I ran, Facebook kicked me off. They didn't just shut down my ad, they shut down my ad account, they shut down my entire Facebook profile. So all of a sudden I thought I knew what I was doing, and I didn't have a clue how to move forward. So I pushed myself, and I had to learn. I didn't have a hands-on mentor, I didn't have anyone to ask. So I found out as much as I could, and I managed to make it work. And I became quite experienced in the process because I had overcome all of these obstacles. I'd overcome all of these mistakes. And I started to really get a deep understanding of how this social media marketing and how these web funnels worked. So I ended up going off on holiday. I took my daughter on holiday, and we went to Cambodia. Now, I didn't have any money left. I was understanding what I was doing more and more, but I needed to spend some time with my daughter, and I needed to get back to the UK because I had to drive trucks more. I didn't have enough money, and I needed to get back to work. So I took my daughter off to Cambodia, and when I was in Cambodia, I was on a beach, and we were having fun, and I gave her a good holiday, and all of a sudden, my phone started going off, and I made a sale. And these were sales that I'd made from the advertising that I'd been running the month prior, the advertising that I'd written off. And then I made another sale, and another sale, and another sale, and before I knew it, that week I'd made 10 sales whilst I was sat on the beach, living the dream, right? And I'm like, this is all right, isn't it? And I needed to invest more money, but I knew I needed to get back and work. And I went back to the UK, and I drove trucks, and pretty much the rest is history. But I'm going to tell you some stories, because I want to really drive home to you what you have here. And it's not just an opportunity, because these opportunities, they appear to all of us all the time. And the opportunities that come to us, they need to be embraced, they need to be acted upon, they need to be recognized. But you guys are a level higher than all of that, because you guys have already seen an opportunity. You've already manifested an opportunity that's come into your lives. You've already taken action, yeah? You've already followed it. So now, you're no longer looking for an opportunity. In actual fact, you are the guys who are able to give those opportunities to other people. You are in a very unique and privileged position that you are able to literally change and transform the lives of other people by placing this very precious opportunity in the right hands. So that's basically what your job is right now, and I want to really show you how powerful the position is that you're in by giving you a few examples. So when I took my daughter to Cambodia, we went by bus. I didn't have any money. And we took the bus from Saigon, or Ho Chi Minh City, to the Cambodian border. And it was a night bus. And to get on that bus, we had to get a little minibus from the city center, which would then take us to the big bus station. Then we'd get on the big bus and the night bus, and we'd head off. Now, on this minibus, there was another Westerner, a backpacker. And I am, as I've already confessed, an introvert, and I don't talk to people when I go out. Not if I can at all avoid it. So I'm on a bus with my daughter. We got all these local people around, and there's one Westerner also on the bus. And the minibus driver, he stops before we get to the bus station. He's like, everybody please get off, and there's going to be another bus that will take you to the bus station. So we all duly obliged. We got off, and this backpacker, he turned around to me. He's like, I'm really hungry. I need to go and get some food. Do you mind just looking after my bags? I said, all right. So he ran off, and as soon as he got around the corner, there was another minibus turned up and said, right, everybody, we are leaving. Please get on. So I was left with a bit of a dilemma. I could either get on the bus with my daughter and leave the bags on the side of the road, or I could take the bags and put them in the bus and hope that the guy was going to come back quickly enough, or I could stop the bus from going. I tried the first option. The driver wasn't having any of it. He needed to go. So I thought, right, I'm going to get these bags, I'm going to put them in the bus and hope for the best. And we got in the bus. I couldn't stop the driver. The driver started driving, and I saw this guy walking down the street and waved out, and he ran, and he jumped in the bus, and it was all in the nick of time. And fortunately for him, it all worked out quite well. But anyway, we struck up a conversation in that bus, and the conversation was about business. And he had been teaching in Southeast Asia, and he wanted to set up some kind of business, maybe a school, wasn't quite sure, had a few ideas, a few plans. And I started to tell him about my business. Now, at this point, I had zero success, zero sales. I'd invested a lot of money. I had put a lot of money into ads, and nothing had happened. But I still spoke passionately about this opportunity that I had, this thing that I understood, I believed in. And we spoke for about, 15 minutes on the bus, and then eventually we got to the big bus station, and we got on this sleeping bus, and we were sat apart, and the conversation stopped there. The next morning, we woke up at the Cambodian border, and I was getting on another bus with my daughter to Cambodia, and this guy, he was getting on a boat to go to an island. And he's like, I really like the story, the things that you were telling me last night. How about we exchange phone numbers and let's reconnect another time and talk more? I said, yeah, great. Gave him my number. That was it. So, as I said, I spent a week on the beach with my daughter. I made 10 sales whilst I was on the beach. We came back to Saigon afterwards, and after about a week, just before I was about to go back to the UK, I get a phone call, and it was a phone call from this guy who I'd met on the bus. And he's like, I want to know more about your business. So I said, great. So we met up, met in a restaurant, and we had a chat. I showed him my laptop. I showed him everything that I did. I showed him the sales that I'd made and how it all worked. This was before I'd got into Enagic. And he was really, really interested, yeah. I had to go back to the UK. I got back in my truck. I started driving. I started trying to push my business. At the same time, I'd just been presented the opportunity with Enagic. I just started to sell Enagic, not very successfully, but I was getting there slowly. I'd made 1 or 2 sales. And after about a month or so, this guy, he calls me up. He's still in Vietnam. And he's like, I want in. I want to do business with you. I told him about Enagic. I told him about the trifecta. He's like, yeah, let's do it. Now, I was super nervous at this time because this is a guy that I'd met that I really liked. And I'm like, well, what if he invests money and maybe he loses it? And what if it doesn't work? And what if this whole thing that I'm doing is just like, you know, going to go the same way as my previous businesses, for example, because I'm accustomed to failure. I've failed many times in my life before. But he was really enthusiastic, and I was really enthusiastic about what I did. And so he joined, and he was my first ever trifecta sale. And you're going to be seeing a little bit more of him later on. He stood at the back of the room there. And this guy was Ry Roberts. And meeting Ry has changed my life. It's changed everybody's lives, and it's changed, I think the person who's changed the most is him. I've watched him grow from literally, what was it, 25 years old? Yeah? 23, was it? From a boy to a man. Yeah? And I mean, I've got nothing but pride for what he's achieved and who he's become, and you know, what he's been able to do right now. And that is all the result of me putting an opportunity in the hands of somebody. So, he's done all right. Yeah? We know what he's done. So, there was another example. And a few months later, I'd been doing all right. And I'd been making money. And I was still driving a truck, and I made my first big sale, and I thought, okay, I've made 1 online sale. I know how it works. I am gonna make a decision right here, right now, this day, that is gonna change my life. And I decided that day that I'm gonna hand in my notice, and I gave my employer 3 months. I also, with the rest of the money, and it completely wiped me out, the rest of the money that I had at that point, I bought a ticket to the US. So I worked for 3 months. I pushed my business. It wasn't easy. There were many days that I wanted to give up. There were months went by without a single sale. I honestly questioned myself more at that time than ever before. I would literally cry at night thinking, what the fuck am I doing? I'm working this job and I'm throwing every single penny that I've got into ads, and I'm not getting the results that I want. Until one day I'm like, this is it, this is stupid. I'm going to be going to the States in a month. I've got no money to go there. What do I do? And that morning I woke up and there was a message or a phone call, I forget. And that phone call was somebody who wanted to buy a trifecta. So I made a sale, and then I made another sale, and by the end of that month when I quit my job, I'd made quite a few sales, and I was ready to jump on a plane. I was ready to go out to the States, and I went out to the States, and I went to a big Enagic global convention, which was the first time that I actually saw people using the products other than myself. I was working in the UK. Everything that I was doing was US-based. Nobody in the UK was doing this at this time. So I ended up in Vegas, right? And I spent a week in Vegas. I did a lot of filming and selfies and live streams and putting the message out there, just like you guys are, or hopefully are, or should be doing right now. And I got a lot of attention. And one person who I'd been speaking to for a few months, and we'd been having these little conversations. He was working on Amazon. He wasn't very successful. He was super tech savvy, but he didn't really know what product to sell. And we've been having these conversations every month, not trying to sell anything to him, just seeing how each other were doing. And he followed me on social media when I went out to Vegas. Now, after Vegas, I flew back to Vietnam, and I called him up straight away. I said, look, this is the product for you. I want you on my team. What are we going to do about it? And we spoke. He joined up. He got a trifecta. And within a month, he'd got on a plane and flown out to Saigon to work with me. I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. And this guy came out with more ideas than I'd ever had. And this guy is also at the back of the room right now, and that's Rob Brottingham. And we all met up in Saigon, and we broke, or should I say, Rob broke everything that I'd done prior, and all of these low-tech solutions that worked, yeah? He was like, no, we're not having any of that. We can't use any of that. And he started to bring out all of these more high-tech, modern solutions. And the rest has been history. It's been an incredible ride that I've been on as a result of offering opportunities to just two people I'm talking about today. Now, Rob, when we first met, tech savvy, he was amazing. I had never met anybody who knew the kind of tech stuff that he knew. Could he talk on video? Could he fuck? He was so lame on video. Could he sell? Could he do a phone call? Nah, not a chance. However, he was tech savvy and he wanted to learn and he was hungry to learn and he wanted to become the absolute best at what he was doing. And at the time, I was no expert, but I was good at videos. I still hate going on video, honestly. I don't like it. I don't like press and record. Live stream, I gave that up. But I'm pretty good when I see the results. I'm happy with the results. And Rob followed on. And he learned so much and grew so quickly. And so did Rai. And all three of us together managed to put together what has effectively ended up in all of these people sitting in this room today. And what you guys have is something that is so precious and so valuable. You guys can literally change people's lives. You guys can put an opportunity in the laps of people and watch people come in and take it to a whole new level. These guys are not just my business partners, they're not just close friends, they're literally the closest thing I have to family pretty much right now. And I could not be prouder of what they have achieved, yeah, and what we have achieved and what, as a collective CEO movement, has become. But if you look at this light thing that keeps flashing around the room, you might notice a little sign saying level up. Now, you're going to hear some, just a little bit, yeah? Yeah? Just a little bit. You're going to hear a little bit of information that is literally going to change each and every one of your lives, okay? So, guys, I've got a simple question for you. Are you ready? Yeah! Nah, I didn't hear that. Are you ready? Yeah! I want you to start a very slow clap. I want to hear. CEO, 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 CEO. Right, and Rob, take it away, guys.
That's great.